Hey, what's up, guys? It's Jim and Caleb here again. Going to talk about a little bit of shop talk, a little bit of business. What we want to talk about today was just the current market, some of the tips that have been working for us to save deals, and what we're seeing here and day in and day out in the field. Also, interest rates. That's kind of the hot topic. They're raising. How concerned are we? Are we changing our strategy at all? What are we doing? And then finally, a little bit of team building. We get a lot of feedback. I actually just got interviewed on a podcast, and that she was just peppering me with questions on team building. Sharon Vornholtz, her name, has an excellent podcast, by the way. Squirrel, I know. So we're going to go over a couple of the mistakes that we've made over the years, and so that you don't have to make them too. So anyway, let's get into the current market. Caleb, what's been working for us here recently? What do you think, dude?
Yeah, so the most interesting thing of the last 3 months, 4 months that I've seen with especially MLS deals, but deals in general, is a massive fallout rate. So before COVID, we traditionally saw about a 25% termination rate. And then it felt like through COVID, as the market got crazier, we actually went down to somewhere around 20 or 15% of every deal would terminate across the St. Louis market based on some data we've been tracking. What's happened in the last 3 or 4 months and where we've been able to really benefit, and maybe you guys can benefit in your businesses too, on buying investment deals or helping your clients, is being in the second position. Because since interest rates started rising in February, we've seen somewhere around 30 to 40, and in some markets, 50% termination rates on certain price denominations of houses. So a big win we've had is going in secondary to other contracts and saying, hey, here's our cash offer. It's strong, no inspections. Yeah, granted, we're maybe 20 grand cheaper, but if a deal falls through, we're able to be in that backup secondary position.
Yeah.
And
So then have we been actually, even though it's under contract, writing offers, or is it more of a verbal thing?
yeah, no. So we're actually doing the offers, getting them locked in, and insisting that we get those, getting those signed. We don't just want to be the verbal. We used to do a lot of verbals, and those weren't working, but now we're getting a lot higher success with having that writing there in front of the seller. Because if you're seeing, what happens is when that lock happens a week or 2 weeks before, and his rates are coming up, people are getting a payment that's like $200, $300 higher than they thought. They panic and sell. If the seller has to sell, sometimes they're willing to sell their house cheaper, and that's where you can pick up a deal.
And a good kind of scripting or kind of soundbite around this that you can talk to people about too is like if we ever meet with a homeowner, and like when we meet with homeowners, we like to go over multiple options. Hey, we can buy it for this price. If you put it on the market, you can sell it for this. And then we have some creative options for you if you want to make more money over time, right? In the case that they just decide to go with somebody else, we try to help everybody we meet with, but sometimes they go with somebody else. It's just kind of part of the being in business, right? Something that you can do, especially knowing that there's so much fallout right now because of the volatility in interest rates, is you can talk to them about being plan B. You can send them a text message, that's a video text message saying, hey, I know it didn't work out. I'd love to be your plan B. Just keep me in mind if for whatever reason something happens with the contract, the other person's contract that you went with. So I would definitely be keeping that in mind, and
I think people don't talk about the power behind video text near enough at all. You guys do not realize how the open rate of a video text compared to a normal text and the absorption rate in someone's brain is insane.
Who was there a lender that sent you?
It was a realtor. It was a realtor that sent me. My birthday was a couple weeks ago, and I got probably 4, 5, 6 phone calls, 30 text messages, and 300 posts on Facebook. But I had 2 people that sent me video messages on my birthday. There was just them saying happy birthday. And for a week or 2, I couldn't get these people out of my brain. I'm like, holy cow. And those of you guys that know me, especially Jim, my brain goes 100 miles an hour. I'm all over the place. So for someone to be front submitted in my brain, to grab real estate in my brain off a video for a couple weeks, if you guys aren't doing that, you're literally not working your business to the best ability for the best amount of time spent.
Yeah, and top of mind is the name of the game, right? So, okay. The thought of being in Caleb's mind nonstop for for a couple weeks. I'm pulling out my phone now. I'm going to do a little video and text it to you.
Can you
just
can
to
you
bother
imagine?
you, just to bug you,
Yeah, do you know what it's like just to have this brain inside here that's like all over the place all the time?
There is nothing that would give me more joy than to be bugging you at 11 o'clock at night, thinking about a video.
You do just a good job of it. All right. You want to
All
go
right. Yeah.
into
So, hey, interest rates, how concerned are we? What are you thinking about that?
Yeah, so interest rates. This is a hot topic right now. I'm getting tons of questions around this. Should I buy points to get my mortgage rates down? What should I do? Should I buy a house? Should I wait? My suggestion is if your holding horizon is over 10 years, always buy real estate because real estate is always going to go up over a 10-year time period. With that being said, with interest rates right now, we're in the sixes, and a lot of people are like, holy cow, this is crazy. But what's happening is recency bias. It has us thinking about rates. Am I sharing? I think I am. So recency bias has us thinking about these rates that were down in the 2%. But when we look at over historical average from 1990 to 1920, we were right there at 6% for 30 years. The entire time I've been alive, the average historical rate is actually 6%. For those of you that are my parents' age, from 1972 to 2020, the average was 7.8% interest rate. For me, I think real estate is still going to stay strong because history is going to show us that people still bought and sold tons of real estate in the 80s, especially when rates were up at 16, 15%. What's interesting about this, though, and as I was saying, a lot of people are saying, should I buy a point? Should I do this? What we know is that when we go into a recession, rates come down. History shows us that. And any of you guys that follow the stock market right now, the government's not talking about it, but we probably will announce in July that we're in a recession. So what does that mean? Probably somewhere within the next year or two, when they get inflation down to a normal average, they're going to bring rates back down to pull us out of a recession because that's a natural way to get out of a recession. Right now, rates are super high to counteract the inflation that we're dealing with. And until they're able to get that under control, we won't see rates come up. I think 24, we're going to see inflation come back down to a 2 to 3% core CPI from the 8% mark it's at now. What should that do? That should bring rates down in the 3s and 4s again. So what should you do now? You should buy a house because there's less competition.
Okay.
Refinance. Do not buy points. Please, if you're buying a house right now, if a lender is telling you to buy points, go to another lender. Do not buy points. Refinance in 2 years. Thank me later.
Yeah, and you could potentially get an adjustable rate mortgage too.
That's the other thing.
If you believe the rates are going to go down. So,
can I talk on that for 1 second? So I just did a 6-year balloon at 3.6% on my personal home, 3.6% interest rate a month ago on my personal home on a 6-year balloon. You can get really good rates still. You just have to have 10% down, 5% down, and know the right people and ask the right questions. If you're a realtor and you're not working with an adjustable rate mortgage right now, lender, then you're doing yourself a disservice and your clients.
Well, and I have a friend that owns a mortgage company, and the way he explained it is that we're such a debt economy now. There's student loans. It's not just like a home loan anymore, right? So like our entire economy, if interest rates raised to where they were in the 70s when they were in the teens, if it were to do that, it would completely shut down the entire economy, and like it's just not an option to happen anymore with where we're set up. So personally, I would be okay with an adjustable rate mortgage right now and doing that because I don't see them gonna get going up into the teens, but that's a personal choice there that you'll have to make. So absolutely. Okay.
You want to go into team build?
I do. I have Caleb's coughing, and
so sorry.
I had an ADD moment where I was like, I had a really good point that I knew people were going to love, and now it's gone. All right. Well, if I circle back, if I get it back, I'll share it with everybody on that front. But actually, yes, I remembered it. All right. There's a saying by Warren Buffett: I want to be fearful when others are greedy, and I want to be greedy when others are fearful. This changing markets really rattled a lot of people, and a lot of people are getting out of buying a house. A lot of people are kind of scared for it. And what Caleb said earlier is actually a better time, in my opinion, to buy a property than it was a few months ago. So I'm kind of like going against the grain a little bit, and we're doubling down, wanting to buy more houses, as many as we can hold on to right now. I don't, I'm not overly concerned at all with the interest rates. And
yeah, and we're seeing for investors, for those of you guys that a lot of might be listening to us, we're actually seeing investment rates at 3.54 and 4.5%. On 5 and 6 years, even opportunity to invest in real estate is that when you're getting interest rates 2% lower than a normal consumer. I think right now is one of the best times to buy real estate, period, that there's been in a very long time, especially a year ago, because you're not going to be going up against 5 other offers. You just have one other offer you're competing against. And if you have the power to buy with cash and then refinance, there's a lot of good opportunity right now for investors in this market.
Absolutely. Okay.
And so I'm doubling down and buying more real estate.
So the last thing we were going to talk about was team building, some of the mistakes that we've made. And so hopefully you don't have to make them. So, hey there, if you're looking to get the ultimate edge for your real estate investing company, go to doorstodeals.com/invest for more information. Just so you know, a high percentage of the people that we interview on this podcast are actually already Three Doors Network members. And our network members have a lot of extra resources. They have access to an online training vault with over 3 years worth of content in it. They have access to vendor savings like our Home Depot discount that's literally saved thousands of dollars for members. And we have a weekly group coaching call, and we have a lot of other great things as well as part of the Three Doors Network. So make sure that you check it out on doorstodeals.com/invest. So the last thing we were going to talk about was team building, some of the mistakes that we've made. And so hopefully you don't have to make them. So Caleb, when you made your first hire, what type of process did you go through and or not go through? Like what was that like?
I hired my wife's best friend for my first assistant, and it was terrible. I didn't interview her. I didn't do any type of personality test. She worked for me for 4 months, and it was miserable.
Okay.
And it took me it took me a lot of time to rebuild and get past that.
Okay. So okay, and like now what do you do? What do you go through now? Like when it comes to this?
So now we have a 7-step process in order to hire anybody that comes into the Three Doors world. And if I get these steps mixed up a little bit, I don't have them right in front of me. But we have a very detailed process. So we have an initial phone call, which is about a 30-minute screening. So we just want to talk to you. We want to feel you out, ask you some questions. What's your experience? Kind of that sort of thing. Then next, we're going to do a personality assessment. So we want to make sure before we go any further that anyone matches the personality for the person that we built for that role. Usually the first phone call, most people we will put right into the personality. I would say probably 15% of our applicants we do a phone call with and a personality assessment. Here's where we slim down a ton of people. So we do what's called the PI, Personality Index. And I would say probably 10% of the people we send that to, maybe less, actually have a personality similar to what we want to match with. After the personality index, we do a full hour-long interview, which is the person who would directly be supervising that person. Sorry, someone is ringing my doorbell. So after the hour-long interview, there is, from that point, it goes to a group interview. So we do a group interview where several people that would work around them, other people from other parts of the company. Then we'll do a group lunch. We always love to make sure that people interact in our culture. They are going to fit into our world. How do they do at lunch? And then we typically have them bring their spouses. Sometimes we'll do a dinner. If it's a big hire, if we're hiring a director level, they're going to go to dinner with me and Nita. They're going to go to dinner with other people and other spouses because we want to see how they act around them too.
And inevitably, like when we try and shortcut a step, we're not perfect at going through all of them. Inevitably, like we regret it. So it's really good to like go through a whole process.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'll one thing on personality assessments, guys. The best tool is the one that you know how to use and that you understand. and I wasn't a huge believer in them at first. And I am now. What a personality assessment will do that's helpful is if you identify how someone naturally should be wired for a role. I think it's our job as business owners to match that, because if you have somebody that you hire that doesn't fit like what the day-to-day wiring should be, 6 months, 12 months, 2 years down the road, whatever it's going to be, at some point they're going to burn out in that role because God didn't make them, didn't design them to do that role, right? So like it's also it's helping that person out and being a good and putting that person in the right spot. I mean, it's a really important service. They don't necessarily tell you like how competent someone's going to be, like how talented they are, how much of a drive they have, how much motivation they have. Someone could be wired completely perfectly for a role and then end up doing a really bad job. That's part of it. So then part of the interviewing process, you're trying to figure out cultural fit and all of that as well.
Yeah, and we had someone actually just recently that was they fit some boxes so well. They were incredibly talented. They were incredibly experienced for the job, but they just didn't match our culture well. We have a very outspoken, very loud culture, I would say. And so sometimes quieter people may not fit in our world. So it's important that you make sure that whatever your culture is you want to build from the beginning, that those first hires are so important to bring them in and make sure that they match everything you want. Because your first 2, 3, 4 hires, that's your culture. They're helping you build that. No matter how much you as a leader wants it to be, if your second, third, and fourth hire over here that you bring in don't match that, what's your culture going to become?
Absolutely.
It's going to be, if they're 75% of the company, you're 25%, they're the culture, not you.
Yeah. And so like for us, like the lunch is a really important one, because like we want to work with people that we want to have a beer with, that we want to hang out with, that we enjoy being around. And so that's also kind of like a step on that, just to kind of see how that interaction is. And, you know, are they going to help give people energy? Or are they going to be an energy drain? You know, are they going to pour into the role and be motivated and want to win? Or are they going to just kind of show up? And,
and I missed the vision one. I missed the vision interview. That happens, I think, before the group lunch. We do a full hour-long vision meeting. So Jim does a really good one. I do one a little different as well. And we just really want to see where they want to go in 5 years. Where do you want to picture your life? Do you plan on staying in this area? Do you want to grow inside of 3 doors? Do you see yourself in our vision? Do we match together? If not, then we probably aren't going to be a good fit. The vision meeting is super important too.
Yeah, I love that. And one of the other mistakes I've made, guys, is I didn't hire, like when the business was getting built and we needed administrative support, we waited at least 6 months, maybe even a year too long to do it. And I remember thinking like, well, I can't afford stroking a $40,000 check for an administrative assistant. Like we're just not quite there yet. And how I was able to get over that, like if you're like trying to figure out like your first hire and are you ready for it, is it's not, if $40,000 is their base salary, you're not taking a $40,000 risk. You're taking you can put them on a 90-day trial, and it's 40 divided by 12 and then times that by 3. That's the actual risk that you're taking as a business owner. So you have time to like flush that out and figure that out if it's going to end up being something that works out and helps you grow. That was something that, I mean, oh man, that took me a long time to figure that out. And once we hired that first person, the first person didn't work out. We messed a few things up, but then the second person that we hired worked out on a high level, and we hire as many people as a business can afford. It's an amazing thing when it's working right.
And I think that's why it's so important to hire before you need someone, because your first hire is probably not going to work out. We don't always hire, and I personally think even now, like we're incredibly good at hiring. Is a great thing that we do, but we still make mistakes. So when you're first starting, you have to hire people before you're ready, because you have to go through those mistakes. And especially right now with unemployment being as low as it is, it's tough to find talent. Talent is hard to find. You got to cast a big vision and find the right person.
Yeah, I mean, and I mean, really, I mean, if your vision's to grow and do more than what you're doing, there's going to have to be other people involved. Like you're not going to be able to do it alone. So Caleb, how did you, when the first person didn't work out, what made you then go ahead and get to that second person, like, and make another hire? Like, how did you share that story with me? How did that work out?
Yeah, so the second hire, I knew it was a temporary Band-Aid because we were going into spring market and we were getting very, very busy. So I went to one of my friends and I was like, hey, I don't want you for a long time. I just need you to come pick up the paperwork pieces of the business and just do this while I take time to hire the right person. And that was actually one of the best things I did because her name was Kayla, and she was one of my great, great friends. And Kayla came in and she knew she was only there temporary, but Kayla cared about my business. She cared about my growth. So she worked really hard, even though it was a tough job for her to do. And what that did is it took the pressure off of me to go. As you guys know, we massively accelerated our growth once we had a really high level director of operations because we were able to take so much off my plate. So yeah, we did it a little different. I wouldn't always suggest that. But from the very beginning of bringing Kayla in, after we let our first admin go, we knew she was temporary. She was a 3 or 4 month Band-Aid. And then we were going to bring Cody in. Or not, we didn't know it was Cody, but we went out and we really started looking for talent. And we were fortunate that it was 2020. And that was when there was people everywhere. So we really got to be picky about who we wanted.
Oh, that's great.
And yeah, I would say that was like, for me, I was fortunate that I always hired before I was ready. I didn't need a director of operations. I actually had people that at the Keller Williams office directly telling me, like, you're hiring people too soon. You're spending too much money. You're going to go out of business. And I remember being like, no, my business is growing and I don't want to wait until I have to have someone to hire. I'm going to hire now, and I'm okay if I make a little bit less money because I know that the business will grow. And to me, it's not really as much about the money as living a life I want to live. And if you're doing paperwork and all this stuff all night long, you're not living a life by design. You're living a life by work. I don't want to do that. Does that answer your question?
That's a good way to get a guy wired like Caleb to do something. Try and tell him what to do. It's not gonna ever work.
You know, if I don't want to do something and someone tries to tell me how to, I literally, this is crazy, and this is totally off topic, squirrel moment. I had a teacher in high school that told me if I didn't go to college, I wouldn't be successful. And I thought about that my entire life. When I didn't go to college, I have to be successful to prove Mr. Ulrich wrong. And I still think about that today, that like I am proving this guy wrong that told me I had to go to college.
And he's listening in right now.
I wish.
He's going to chat and say, good job, man. I'm glad I motivated you.
He probably had no idea it was motivating me. He thought I was going to be a bum.
Oh, well, I'm proud of you, buddy. I'm
Thanks.
glad you're not a bum. Oh, man. Well, hey, I think we got through it a little quicker than normal this time. Anything else? Closing thoughts, or should we be a wrap?
It's a wrap, guys. For additional resources, go to doorstodeals.com/095. If you're looking to grow your investment income, email me at cdavis@3doors.com. And finally, never give up.
Thanks for tuning into this show. For more episodes and resources that will unlock Doors to Deals, check out our website, doorstodeals.com.